has a very strong theme, a hyper carry, strong top lane matchup. It can be difficult to crush that one outright, but it works well with the Jarvan. Jarvan's probably going to sit around there a lot of the early game because Galio can help deal with the bot pressure. On the side of KT Rolster, this is going to be about an early tempo advantage around Drake control, I feel, with the Samira pick. Grab that early shield boat if you can, fight around the Orianna, Alistar, and try to win some skirmishes before Vayne really comes online.
Yeah, I think getting in early would be good so that you can set yourself up for some really fantastic scaling and try to get Vayne as far behind as possible and have enough shred to make it through that massive front line on the side of T1. So I would like to see some safety out of KT along those lines, and we'll see how it does go as it looks like we're ready for Game 1. Let's hop onto the Rift.
Play a lot more safely. That early scuttle is Kana.
Well, we're trying to ruin his stats a little bit more, perhaps. The TP is going to come in, the bowling ball misses, and we do get the Dark Harvest stack here onto Blank. But at the end of the day, they just get the teleport. Doesn't look like anything else is going to come in here. Of course, Yukal had to teleport back to the lane.
You mentioned the Dark Harvest stacks. At least, you know, Blank, even if he fails these ganks, can grab Krugs and be very annoying in the top lane, grab another stack. Force Kana to back. So these ganks are valuable even if it's not resulting in a kill.
Doran doesn't take much damage. Here comes T1 into the enemy jungle. Trying to take this red and
Blank is here.
Smite. Yeah. Blank is like, thank you very much for the leash.
But the pacing of that is really based around nobody being picked. Kana, you know, not getting too much chunk damage taken before he gets into the fight, because the shockwave does lead to a lot of early picks. And uh-oh, Kana.
All right, we're going to have Zeus tanking here, and I'm not sure that Kana's going to be able to get away from this one. A very straight-up first blood, going to go the way of KT.
And, you know, Blank is still ahead in farm. He's going to get a little bit of extra turret plate hold up here. They're going to drop the Gangplank ult down here to slow down this turret push, so it's not as good of a trade for T1. They won't get the entire turret, I don't believe. They will get all the plates. Actually, in fact...
What your champion can do against the other champion, if you can survive. And I think Hybrid in this game is just like, okay, let's try not to get picked. Speaking of which, Blank looks like he's dead. He's going to try to flash away. Here comes the Galio follow-up. And he will actually commit to using his Zhonya's here, even though he will not get away.
But, you know, in this case, Yukal is on the Orianna. It's still good for Orianna, you know. But a lot of vision control being fought over here. As T1 know that, you know, the jungle matchup here, I mean, if Blank gets caught, if he's too far forward trying to make this poke happen, they could pick him. But now that everyone's grouped up, T1 are going to have to fight on the right side of this pit. And this looks like it's going to turn into a 50-50 here on the Drake.
Yeah, nice 7-10 split there. As Hybrid has to flash away, he immediately is going to go down before the fight even begins. As the gameplay button there onto Blank, a lot of damage coming out here. And now Gumayusi able to fight a bit front to back. He's looking for Blank here. Will get that third shot and pick up yet another kill. Kana still going forward as they pick off a third KT member.
Died early on in the fight. Could have been so perfect. I mean, watch this again. Immediately, the dive in. Elam comes in on top of Hybrid. He has to back off after doing that, but he did his job. They blow up Hybrid, and then the fight ensues. You see the double sleep. You can see all the damage coming out from Blank here. Look at how low everybody is. Look at how much they would love to have an Inferno trigger pop right onto Keria and spin around this fight, but it's just, he's not there. He got blown up early, and T1 pulled the trigger instantly, no hesitation on looking for that pick in Hybrid. You know, I think KT may wanted to score. Doran's going to get collapsed onto here. This could actually be so
doing a ton of
tragic.
damage, though. He might just be able to take out Kana before it begins, and he will. Trying now to crit down Gumayusi. Not quite going to be able to. A much better chance of winning.
I do agree, and that's where Yukal is going to, or rather not Yukal, Blank is going to try to set up potentially for some of those fights with bowling balls into sleeps. This is really looking really bad, though. Unfortunately, with the minion wave here, I don't think KT should try to push the issue. They disagree. Zeus is going in.
They want to get on top of Gumayusi, but again, that true damage through the Unbreakable, just making that look really simple. Gumayusi against one cow. Who will win at the end of the day? Gumayusi obviously will take that, and T1 say sure. You know, deny us the Ocean Drake for now. We don't care. We're going to take a 22-minute Baron.
Yeah. Okay, sure, you got the Ocean Drake. It's your first Drake of the game. That's all you're going to get out of this. I think that was a big misread by KT Rolster to try to go in for that fight. There's a minion wave in between KT and T1. T1 have better positioning. And there's clearly a communications issue in the moment where Zeus Samira taking over these team fights. It just hasn't been
Blank. Actually, Elm just getting in there. They're forcing this fight so hard. Creating that front line here for Gumayusi, who's just doing insane amounts of damage already. He is so fed in this game. And I love
I mean, this is a...
We're gonna take your inhibitor and you're gonna pay for it. Like, there's nothing that KT are just sitting here in a brush desperately trying to start this fight around the Ocean Drake that they lose their inhibitor.
Look where Hybrid is! Not where it needs to be!
Man. Right in the front, and now Blank has to Zhonya's here. A lot of damage done to Elm at least, but Blank looking in a bit of trouble. Does get the flash away, and now finally front to back, and with Gumayusi not able to do that free deal you were talking about, it does look like KT finally able to get a decent fight, but oh, that is so much damage coming in. Finally, they get the Gumayusi, though. Finally, one combo comes in from the side of KT, and you can see what we've been desperately looking for out of this composition finally come to light, as Zeus, he didn't go over that ocean.
The inhibitor being down is actually such a boon for T1 in this case, so they can keep kind of forcing the minions to be dealt with. Zeus, I don't know about this one.
That wasn't it. He had to wait for a better spot there. Doran will take the oranges and Aphelios, or really any kind of other AD carry. It's Vayne, and he just gets immediately shredded.
Yeah, and now we're going to go back to where we were just a few moments ago, Valdez, where all the lanes are pushed, as Blue Buff wanted to get involved in this one. Where all the lanes are pushed because of the Baron buff. The Drake is up in 90 seconds. If you're in range to do damage, you're probably dying unless the fight's already over. So the Lilia pick is really only now useful for setting up sleeps, for example, as he does miss the bowling ball there. Breaks on the wall. KT trying to be decisive here, but I don't know about this one. Oh no.
All right, over the wall, he finds Yukao, and they do not have much. A huge taunt gets pretty much everybody on the side of KT. Not enough damage is going to come out of this one. The engage this time too clean and too strong on the side of T1. They're going to teleport in and look to end this game.
Yeah, one small mistake from Gumayusi throughout this entire game in terms of how he was playing the Vayne. It's really easy to clean it up, and T1 going to take another lead in what has been a very dominant series of telecom wars over the last 2 years.
Yeah, pretty simple for them this time around. They're looking for the win here, 1-0. He's just kind of been getting picked and hasn't had any recourse. He has not been able to do any damage. I mean, this is just almost embarrassing, you know? 5.3k damage, that's not enough.
Yeah.
You can't rely on Doran to to do like 7 teams worth of damage by himself. You know, he's getting fed, he's playing the gangplank, but at the end of the day, like, it's a team effort.
Yeah, and Gumayusi didn't need to do that much damage in this game because he just killed champions instantly when they were locked down, and otherwise wasn't doing a whole lot. So
welcome back everybody to the last day of LCK week number 2, and we are kicking off with the Telecom War. Classic KT versus T1 matchup, and T1 was able to lock down the Game1 victories up against KT roster. First, what's your take on the draft? We saw Vayne locked in by Gumayusi. Yeah, Vayne was one of the main character of this game. T1, indeed, they kind of drafted around Vayne. They also played around the bottom lane. But we also want to kind of take a look at other things as well. Samira is a very talented champion right now, and Vayne definitely has a lot of weakness. And also looking at Alistar versus Galio matchup down in the bottom lane. I think T1 had this confidence. They are having a lot of lead in the bottom lane, and they were able to actually get a lot of points on the top side of the map as well. And I think Vayne is a really good champion into the current meta, where we're having a lot of Gore Drinker champions coming out on the top side of the map. Samira is a champion that actually requires CC to engage into the fight, so I think Vayne is also a really good champion countering this Samira pick. But the key point of today's match was not Vayne. I think J4 was the actual main character. J4 is not a mainstream champion, but he is making some moves here in the league in other regions as well. And because maybe J4 is not the one of the most picked champion in the current meta, KT was not having full heads up to the potential engagement of J4. So I think J4 was a really kind of great kick in for T1 to kind of dismantle the opponent. Now let's take a look at the highlight where KT dropped their ball after this one kill. T1 made a very bold decision. So KT, they thought the enemies disappeared. So they thought T1 is rotating towards top and thinking Doran is in trouble. So Blank also made a move up to the blue camp, thinking about securing the blue buff and covering top for Doran. But actually, look at T1's vision. Galio and J4 already invaded down to the blue buff camp, which means Blank was actually in trouble, and once they spotted Lilia, J4 went straight in and locked out that kill onto the jungler. And after that, KT was unable to snowball throughout the top side of the map. Lilia can always kind of over-farm the opponent, J4, but after that kind of defeat in the jungle fight, well, Lilia was not able to find any opening in that game. Later on, T1 also showed a great concentration in the dragon fight. So let's take a look at the highlights. KT roster. Look, watch how they get control of the vision. KT at first they had the agenda of this vision fight, but they got zoned out by T1 players. So T1 was in a better position for this dragon fight. So Orianna does have a long range, whereas Samira has a very short range, so they have to pay attention to their position, but Orianna was paying too much attention to the upper hand side, and Samira was actually attacking the Drake, which means they were actually on the opposite position of each other. So Samira was exposed to the range of Syndra's combo, so he gets hit by the Scatter the Weak, and he got popped after J4 dived onto Samira. Samira has this shield to actually absorb one of the main combos from Syndra, but Hybrid was not paying enough attention to stay in a safe position. Overall, we want to comment that T1 was really sharp making that initiation around J4. So maybe we can call this a jungle difference because Elim looked really focused in this game all day long. We also had a very impressive game where J4 played as a support role, but J4 managed to get another successful game on the jungle role as well, and T1 took game 1 of the Telecom War. Now let's take a look at the POG, and it's gonna be Elim on J4. Gumayushi did a massive work on Vayne, and Closer also worked really well on Syndra as well, but Elim was the main character who was engaging all the fights on the side of T1. J4 was indeed very behind in terms of farm department, but he was able to come back this deficit by opening fights. And in this game, he had all eyes on Samira. He was always going on to the enemy carry player, and he was able to lock him up. Elim created so much opening for his teammates to do the damage during team fights. So unanimous POG over to Elim in the jungle. Very well deserved POG going over to the jungler of T1 Elim. And third POG for Elim so far. KT and T1, they are tied up the same ranking here in the LCK. So game number 2 will matter so much for them. So pass it over to our casters. Thank you.